Welcome, beautiful people of all ages, shapes, and colors, to another episode of the Hit Your Free Throws podcast, where we encourage you to stick to the basics. I'm one of your co-hosts, TV, aka TV on basketball, alongside my co-host Jay, aka Knockdown Jay. How's it going, my guy?
EV, we are in the thick of it, man. NBA trade deadline is around the corner. The rumor mill is churning. Players are having their names brought up in trade rumors left and right. And as we get closer to the deadline, bro, the question I have for everyone is, when are we gonna see that first move, though, TV? That we were discussing it before the pod even started. The first move will set the tone for everything else. We thought the Trae Young move would have been the one that kind of helped get this thing rolling. Apparently that price scared a couple of people off, maybe spooked a few folks into maybe pulling their chips off the table. We just need somebody to make a move to get that spark back lit up, and then we can have ourselves an exciting trade deadline. TV, I don't know who's going to be the ones to make that play, but they got about a week, dog. They got a week to do something to finally get this market moving.
Hey, man, all I will say is 2 years ago, when we were kind of in the same position, a week before the deadline, nothing was happening. The weekend before, Kevin Durant gets traded from Brooklyn to Phoenix. So, if something comes through this weekend, expect some dominoes to fall. That's what we're hoping for. We don't know what the market's looking like. The Trae Young one, I kind of agree with you. I kind of maybe scared off some teams like, oh man, if that's what they're getting for Trae Young, what are we getting for our guys? So, should be interesting. There's a lot of, again, there's some smoke, not a lot of fire, but we're going to have to wait and see. But in today's episode, Jay, we're going to try and light some fire. We're going to try and see if these trades are possible. We're going to be going through some of the trade packages that we put together in preview of the trade deadline. Like, these are the type of trades that you could possibly see, some guys that might be on the move. And we're basically doing a good old who says no. Which of these teams are involved, 2, 3, 4 team, whatever. Who says no to this trade? And we're gonna be breaking down one by one. We have some trades here. We'll try to go as much as we can for this episode, but should be a good one. But Jay, before we get into those trade packages, we do have to plug our socials. Make sure you all follow our individual socials at TV and Basketball, at The Routine Jumper. Those links can be found in the description down below. In terms of the Hit Your Free Throws podcast, make sure you follow us on TikTok and Instagram for the best daily NBA content. You got the picks, news, series, all that good stuff. So make sure you check us out over there. And if you're listening on any of the podcast networks, Spotify, Apple, remember to subscribe, leave a review, all that good stuff. And remember to like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you will not miss an episode over here on YouTube. And by the way, shout out to the YouTube gang. We finally hit 100 subscribers. We appreciate you all coming through. We got a good chunk of you coming in over the last month or so. So thank you guys for tapping in, locking in. And if you thought the end of 2025 was good, 2026 is going to be great for the Hit Your Free Throws podcast and be able to lock in. Because like we mentioned, we're previewing some trade possibilities here today. We're going to be reacting to a lot of the trades next week. Hopefully there's a lot to chew on. But we have some good episodes coming up for you. So make sure you lock in. And again, thank you guys for all your support. Jay, you ready to hit the trade machine?
Yeah, bro. I hope we cooked up some heat. It seems like if they're not going to go through with some stuff, we got to give them a little bit of bulletin board material. So I'm hoping that's what today can be, is a couple of trades that make just enough sense to have somebody say yes and pick up the phone.
100%. And Jay, I'm going to throw it over to you.
Okay.
You pick one of the trade packages, bring it up, the team involved, of course, and then we'll decide who says no to this offer.
Okay, so I'm going to start very light to begin, and I'm actually going to start with my Chicago Bulls. Only fair, right? Only fair. The Bulls fan starts off with a Bulls trade. And I'm going to start light because I don't think that the first trade should be the one that goes super crazy. Just enough to let the market know, hey, we're awake. It's okay to make a trade or two. Don't you worry. Yeah. We'll cook some stuff up, and as we go further and further along, bigger name players will kind of make their move. So the first trade I'm going to go with is the San Antonio Spurs send Jeremy Sohan, Kelly Olynyk, and a future first-round pick, or it can be a future first-round pick or at least a future second, depends on how the money works, to the Chicago Bulls in exchange for Kevin Huerter and 2 second-round picks in the future.
Huh. Interesting. Jeremy Sohan, how many years is left on his deal? I feel like there's still quite a bit.
So if I'm not mistaken, Jeremy is still on his rookie contract. I believe he still has the rest of this season and one more season bare minimum
Okay.
before he has to be in contention for that qualifying offer. So that's something to take into consideration. Something that I kind of thought of when I saw this trade presented is that number one, the Bulls need defensive infrastructure some way, somehow, right? I mean, they're in a situation now where outside of really Isaac Okoro, there's not a lot of real defensive versatility on this team. Like you want it to be Patrick Williams, you want it to be Montas Buzelis, right? But they don't really have that stopper level guy on the perimeter right now, right? There's two things this team needs. Well, technically three. This team needs a lot of stuff, but as far as attributes are concerned, there's three things that could really help this team right now. A perimeter defender, lockdown style, your Dyson Daniels type, Nickeil Alexander-Walker type, Marcus Smart. Think of those guys that you feel comfortable putting on an island on the perimeter. Number two, obviously, is a knockdown three-point shooter. Kevin Huerter is that, but Kevin Huerter also doesn't necessarily fit the timeline for
Fair.
where the Chicago Bulls are from a youth standpoint. And then, obviously, they need a starting caliber center because Nikola Vucevic is about to become an unrestricted free agent. They do not solve that center position very much in this trade because they're likely going to solve that problem in the NBA draft this upcoming summer. That's probably the likelihood.
Yeah.
But they can address the forward slash guard who can be a point of attack defender with this trade with Jeremy Sohan, as well as having, I believe, Kelly Olynyk's an expiring contract at the power forward position. Can be somebody who does spread the floor for you a little bit, gives you another secondary passer outside of Josh Giddey. And for the Spurs, Kevin Huerter, it's more of what the theory of Kevin Huerter is, more so than
I was gonna
actually what
say.
he's presented so far this season.
Yeah.
Kevin Huerter's averaging about like 11 points a game or something like that off the bench for the Bulls. The Bulls bench has actually been the biggest bright spot of the season for them, believe it or not. And a lot of that does start with guys like Kevin Huerter with the way he's been playing. He has been shooting the ball relatively well. You think if you get some more floor spacing for that San Antonio Spurs team, who really relies heavily on Devin Vassell, like a lot on Devin Vassell from a three-point
Yeah.
shooting standpoint. You get a guy who, at least in theory, is a high-level three-point shooter to help space the floor next to Wemby, next to guys like Stephon Castle and Dylan Harper and things of that nature. You get a guy at least who theoretically can help space the floor next to those guys in Kevin Huerter. And I mean, you're giving up on somebody in Jeremy Sohan who's not really finding any real minutes in the rotation to begin with. Kelly Olynyk, let's be honest, he doesn't have a long-term future with this team to begin with either. And Huerter, worst comes to worst, if I'm not mistaken, Huerter only has like one more year on this deal as well before he comes off the Spurs books, which means like financially it doesn't really put them in any real restraint. That's kind of the framework of it, right? It's more favorable to the Spurs if the theory of Kevin Huerter hits, but this is us banking on Jeremy Sohan being a lot of the things we wished Patrick Williams would be and just has not become yet.
It's interesting because I feel for on the Spurs side of things that this would possibly be a trade made if it was the off season. Because right now Kevin Huerter's shooting like 31% from the field.
Yeah.
And from three. And it's a compared to last year, I mean, obviously he was injured a lot last year. I think he only played like 20 something games or something like that. But 38% from three. Obviously he was a freaking sniper out there when he was a member of the Atlanta Hawks as well. Has taken a big dip in shooting this year. Yes, he's still averaging the 11 points per game. But it's the idea of sending out a first round pick. If that turns into a I don't know, because like even a pick swap is not really that enticing if you're coming from the Spurs. Because let's be honest, even 4 years from now, they're probably still going to be ahead of the Bulls with the Wemby timeline that they're on right now. 2 second-round picks coming back. I get the idea from the Bulls side of things, but it's also like Jeremy Sohan, yes, he could be like a good defender, but he also like he has his offensive value comes from him being kind of a point forward sort of player.
I see where you're coming from with that one. Like the idea that he may actually need the ball to be kind of productive is a little scary, especially because this team is hyper productive or let's say not hyper productive, let's say more so productive when your Josh Giddey has the ball, or if Kobe White is a long-term answer for this team, because his name has been floated out a lot in trade talks. But if he's on this team long term, he's another guy that thrives very much with the ball. I do worry that no matter what the case is, though, for Jeremy to be a successful NBA player, he's going to have to learn kind of the. This is going to be a weird comparison, so forgive me in advance if this one doesn't sound like it lands, but Jeremy Sohan feels like very similar to what Aaron Gordon needed to do in order to become a truly effective player, transitioning from his role as an on-ball player with the Orlando Magic compared to what he's transformed his game into now as part of the Denver Nuggets. And I feel like Jeremy is in a very similar like form of that, where I think his draft status, how high he was taken, and his skill set out the gate coming out of Baylor screams like, okay, this is a guy who kind of needs to operate with the ball in his hands, things of that nature. In reality, that's not his best fit as a long-term NBA player. It's a guy who can make moves off of back screens, a guy who you can trust in the catch and shoot situations. Somebody as a power forward primarily can operate in the pick and roll as a dude who can be the lob threat. Like, he needs to be a guy who just knows how to play within the flow and flow in the offense. And I wonder, this is a weird comparison, but I wonder if similar to how Aaron learned his new role a lot easier and a lot more seamless because he has such a high level passer like Nikola Jokic, if having a high-level point guard passer like Josh Giddey may help unlock a very similar play style. Because they don't have that kind of passer on the Spurs at all. And no disrespect to De'Aaron, any of them at the point guard position, right? But I don't think any of them are the caliber of passer that Josh Giddey is as a facilitator. I wonder if that could unlock something for Jeremy to help his transition into a more favorable role. Again, like I said, I'll make the honest open statement that I do see a world where this is much more favorable to the Bulls, especially if you get a first round pick as well as Jeremy in this, because essentially you're saying that Kevin Huerter is almost worth a first round pick, almost two in a sense, by getting Jeremy, even if Jeremy is quote unquote damaged goods because he fell out of the rotation with the Spurs. That is still a guy who was taken in the lottery.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Say if we alter this trade where this becomes a lottery protected pick, which, after a couple years, if it doesn't convey, will turn to 2 second-round picks. I would maybe be a bit more on board.
That's probably more fair. That's probably a more fair presentation for it.
Yeah.
How would you feel about it if the trade got tweaked where it were top 14 protected?
Yeah.
Given the fact that this is a team that
we'll make it top 14 protected, and if it doesn't convey in 2 or 3 years, it becomes 2 second-round picks. I'd be more comfortable with that, especially because they have a bunch of rookie contracts on their books already.
Yeah.
But as it is right now, especially because, again, it's the theory of Kevin Huerter more than anything.
True.
I say the Bulls say yes and the Spurs say no. I think they want a bit more of a for sure product. And even though Kevin Huerter in the past has been that guy, it's just this season in particular, I think especially with the shooting woes, they might be a bit more hesitant, but again, change it to maybe a lottery protected first, and I might be singing a different tune.
No, I totally understand that. I think the biggest question too is just what is the value of Jeremy Sohan around the league? Might be its own separate question, right? Like my theory of him making that Aaron Gordon comparison, that might be like me just viewing him very optimistically, right? But on the other end of the spectrum, Jeremy may just be the player that he is, and unfortunately that style doesn't fit on the Spurs.
Yeah,
but now you have to get him to a team where that's acceptable, and it's how many teams are in that mold to allow him to do that?
Yeah, I don't mind the Bulls taking the risk. I understand especially because the Spurs probably don't want to really bring him back. They don't want to determine the market for him, even though he is probably a talented player. But again, it's just not going to happen in the Spurs system. So I 100% get it. Let's move on to the next trade, though. Okay. The way I'm gonna frame this to you, I have basically 5 different levels of trades. Level 1 being kind of a low end, 5 being let's create a blockbuster here.
Okay.
Pick a number between 1 to 5, and I'll try and give you one of those trade packages.
Let's go right in the middle, and let's start at 3.
Ooh, we're going back to your Bulls, buddy.
Oh, let's go! ESP, let's go.
Let's do
it.
Okay.
Stay on the Bulls.
Okay, right. So in this trade, the Bulls do a trade with the Golden State Warriors. Yes, this is the package we are going to go with. And this package sends Nikola Vucevic, and Kobe White to the Golden State Warriors. They get the extra offensive help that they need. Both expiring contracts, by the way.
Yeah,
2 expiring
true.
contracts. And of course, Jonathan Kuminga has to be a part of this trade.
Mm.
We're going to have a Buddy Hield to make some money work.
Okay.
Gui Santos, 2026 unprotected pick.
Wait a minute now. Wait.
And a pick swap potential in 2030.
Wait a minute.
I was thinking, my initial one was 2026, like 2026 unprotected, and that's it. But if you have a counter to that, I'm cool with it. I just had the 2026 unprotected, but I am very flexible with that.
Let me check the standings real quick because 2026 unprotected is enticing. Jonathan Kuminga obviously is the prize of the trade from a Bulls perspective. And that's scary, by the way, because he also only has one more season before he's right back into contract negotiations, which means you're essentially trading for Jonathan Kuminga. Actually, okay, let's preface this at the very, very beginning, in case Jonathan Kuminga's name comes up again at any time during the podcast. Jonathan Kuminga, any team that is to trade for Jonathan Kuminga is likely trading for him with the anticipation that they will be willing to sign a contract extension with him either upon him being traded for or most certainly at the end of this season during the summer as he enters the last year of what is a 2-season contract essentially for him. We understand that. Just have to make that very clear to everybody else who's watching the pod in case watching or listening to the pod in case Jonathan Kuminga's name comes up again. Understand that his name will only come up with teams that will likely be willing to pay the price tag for Jonathan Kuminga long term. Because that's the only thing that makes sense. Now, the Golden State Warriors are 8th in the Western Conference right now.
They just lost Disney,
I like that. Now, let me check something. I'm going to check one more thing that I think can make me very excited about this trade. And then I'm going to ask you to read the trade out for me one more time because it could give me a lot to work with. Okay. Read the trade out to me one more time. I want to clarify something real quick.
Vucevic and Kobe White. For Kuminga, Gui Santos, Buddy Hield, and a 2026 unprotected first.
Man, that's really good. How long does Buddy have?
He has, if I'm remembering correctly, he is under the books. He has a player option next season.
How much is it for?
10 mil. It's not crazy.
He might walk.
10 mil. So it's not crazy. And plus, think about it as you get a year and a half of Buddy Hield, which is not a long-term contract whatsoever.
Luis Santos is coming off, though, if I'm not mistaken. He's coming off.
Gui Santos is a restricted free agent after this year. Actually, wait. Oh, Buddy Hield has one more year next year and then a player option. So technically 2.5 years if he.
I mean, you could reflip him for somebody else's postseason run.
Yes, and then
that's an option.
And then Gui is a restricted free agent next year. So Gui
comes off the books off rip. We probably just gonna let him walk. That's fine. How much is he right now?
2 mil, just 2.2 mil.
Okay, yeah, he'll probably just walk. That 2026 pick, bro. Like this is the right draft class to have more than one pick. Because the Bulls right now, if we were to go with that trade right now, the reason why I'm asking all of this is essentially the framework of this is you're trading for Jonathan Kuminga, 2 years of Buddy Hield, and right now this Golden State Warriors pick would be 18th in the NBA draft in the 2026 class. The Bulls are currently 14th. So you would essentially have like 2 picks within 4 spots of each other. As of if the season ended today, that's where things would be at. You're not gonna be able to pay Kobe and Nikola Vucevic this summer. We already know that.
Yes.
You kind of can't get past this trade deadline without trading Nikola Vucevic for something. Otherwise, he's 1,000% walking away for nothing. And of course, you find yourself paying for Jonathan Kuminga in the same year that you just found yourself having to pay Josh Giddey when you probably didn't even want to. If I'm the Bulls, though, I think you do it. Who are you gonna
Okay.
get? It. You know what? The weird thing about it is, and I'll frame this as a question to somebody that's not a Bulls fan. Who is the best player that the Bulls can get? And maybe you would say that Nikola Vucevic and Kobe White could get traded in separate trade packages.
But you're
Maybe.
not getting a first round pick for either. And so and getting multiple
Thank you.
yeah, you're
Thank
not
you.
getting
And
a
that's a
first round
realistic view. TV, I'm glad you said that because that's a realistic viewpoint. We have to understand that the market got set in a really weird way where Kobe White Dolo is not going for a first round pick if if uh what's it called? Trey Young didn't, and they're in the same situation to a lesser degree. Now, Kobe is an unrestricted free agent this summer for sure, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
He's for sure an unrestricted free agent.
Yeah.
For Trey Young, I believe he has a player option
Which yeah, he
for
does.
next season that he has the option to either pick up or he can become an unrestricted free agent out the gate. It sounds like he would pick up. It sounds from everything he's indicated. It sounds like he would pick up the player option, which for the amount of money it is, I think it's north of 48 million or something like
Yeah, I was
that.
gonna say it's like 49 mil or something,
He's
yeah.
gonna pick it up. He's gonna play with them for a year and then have contract extension conversations. That's what it sounds like he's said from his side of the camp. So Kobe White is a non All-Star point guard who's going to be an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year.
Yeah. I mean the only way you're getting a first round pick for in like a trade of like separate for them is if you take a bad contract in return. And this one is like not even like crazy bad. Even if you want to
Nah.
you Buddy Hield is a bad contract, it's still like
Yeah.
just like 10 mil compared to like say for example taking on a Jakob contract where you're going to be paying
Ooh.
north of like 20 something million. So
Yeah.
it's not a bad contract. You're not getting back like a contract that's going to set you back in any
Yeah.
sense.
I actually like this one. And who says no? The team most likely to say no, hilariously enough, I think is more likely Golden State only because this is really the last arrow in the quiver they got for Jonathan. And you're getting two guys who, if it doesn't go well, you do have to question with the Jimmy Butler contract still on their books. Can they bring Kobe White and Nikola Vucevic back after
Yeah.
this summer is the question. That's hilariously the part about it is I think from a player profile standpoint, if you get to add Kobe White and Nikola Vucevic as the Warriors, you're like packing their bags for them.
Yeah.
The question is, are you going to be able to retain them?
That is a
I
question.
think they'd much rather fight Kobe White and Nikola Vucevic over retaining them than fighting Jonathan Kuminga over trying to
Just
figure out what the heck is going on with
honestly.
that, though.
Yeah.
So I think this is actually as close to a fair trade as you can get. The Bulls, you probably hate to pay $20 million to Jonathan Kuminga right after doing that with Josh Giddey, but they were able to talk Josh Giddey's number now because he was talking north of 25.
Yeah.
I think he was talking close to 30 million when they were talking about his contract extension. They got him down to like 21 with escalators.
Yeah.
I think they can get Jonathan Kuminga around about 20 M's while they're still relatively financially, in a good spot
Again,
because
they'll keep him
Montas isn't
flexible.
making a lot of money.
Yeah, it'll definitely keep him
Stuff like that.
flexible for sure.
Yeah.
And then if you can get him to a deal like that, especially in the long term, like who's to say you can't trade him again if he can continue to outplay it? You know what I mean?
True.
Yeah.
True.
So interesting. Yeah, I think honestly, if you're only giving up one first round pick if you're the Warriors, because like if you end up trading Jimmy Butler, I have a feeling you might have to attach two just because he's going to be like 60 million of dead money,
Okay.
probably for next season. But for Jonathan Kuminga, not only you're probably gonna be worried about these two guys like leaving your books next year, especially for nothing that they're unrestricted free agents, but the Steph Curry appeal is still there. The fact you're in Golden State, the fact that Vucevic is gonna probably like feel more valued play on a winning team for the first time in like it feels like forever.
Yeah.
So I think it's not a bad deal, and plus you guys will contribute right away, especially on the offensive end. Which, especially with Jimmy Butler gone, you got none of that if you're the Golden State Warriors right now.
Yeah, and I
So
think if you're still going to maximize the most of this year, are you playing with fire with the Kobe White and Vucevic contracts, given how quickly they can fall off the books? Yes. I would also make the argument, though, right, that another way to look at those two acquisitions are getting the bird rights on both of them at least gives you a leg up, number
Yeah.
one. But number two, worst comes to worst, if you can only pick one, you still at least are kind of in an advantageous situation. Now,
Yeah.
who would the Golden State Warriors pick between Kobe White and Nikola Vucevic? I think actually that question, or the answer to that question, will tell you a lot about how they view the next steps for them. I think if they keep Kobe White over Vooch, that's probably you telling them that they feel like this Steph Curry thing is about to pop, as far as like the era of Steph Curry, Draymond Green, the whole shebang. If they keep Vooch, it tells me that they're going to put as much into next year's, final hurrah as they possibly can. So
Yeah.
that would be its own separate
They
question
have
and
to
kind of a
go.
separate podcast
They
situation
got to.
there. But
They,
yeah,
they got to. Honestly, I think at this point they got to. Screw this whole double timeline things. You got Steph Curry. You got to make sure that you try to maximize this amount of years as much as possible. You don't want to waste any year and don't leave any stone unturned. I think this is probably the most realistic case. And the Bulls are probably willing to take Don Kuminga at this time.
yeah, for
Jay,
sure.
your second trade package. What do you got?
Oh man. Okay, so you guys know, or if you guys watch the podcast, listen to the podcast enough, I'm very Eastern Conference biased because a lot of people love to talk about the Western Conference on mainstream television. They love talking about the Western Conference on mainstream television. That's why it's so hilarious that me and TV, as Eastern Conference team fans, Bulls, Toronto Raptors, we try our best to highlight the East a lot.
Yeah.
So a lot of my trades will involve Eastern Conference teams. Just throwing that out there. We need the East to get a little better, fellas. We need to get a little bit better. So the next team I went with actually boosts a team that I think wants to maximize the most of this window they found themselves in, because they're in very unfamiliar territory as one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference this season. And I think they want to see it through as much as humanly possible by taking a swing. So this one involves the Pistons going out and getting Cade Cunningham, another legitimate ball handler, go-to scorer. We saw what Cade Cunningham was able to do with somebody who was one of the better catch-and-shoot three-point shooters in Malik Beasley last season. Now we're going to get him somebody who has a little bit of three-point acumen, maybe not as efficient as Malik, takes a step back in the three-point shooting standpoint, but can do a lot more as an on-ball creator. Moves off of Jaden Ivey, Karis LeVert, and I'm gonna say a future second and a future first and a future second, probably down the line, probably in the lands of a 2030, right?
Well, I mean, if I
When,
honestly, yeah, okay, yeah, see what you mean. Go ahead.
yeah, probably like a 2030. I don't want to make it like too immediate. It depends though.
Yeah.
I put and picks, by the way. I wasn't
Yeah.
super specific about these because
Okay.
it
Yeah.
just kind of, I don't know how the money works if the picks are thrown in, if it facilitates the trade any differently based on the
Okay.
value of the pick.
Yeah.
So I just kind of put and picks, but nonetheless, it would be Jaden Ivey, Karis LeVert, and it would be two picks in some facet to get Norman Powell from the Miami Heat.
I like it. I like it a lot. I like the fit. I really do like the fit because, like,
So the logic obviously is built in the fact of Miami has to take a step back. Whether they like to or not, they have to take a step back. Truthfully, right?
Yeah.
This is one of those where, do you want to be the team as the Miami Heat that pays Norman Powell what he's going to be requesting?
I was gonna say that was gonna be my exact argument because they already have Bam and Hero on the books.
Yeah. See, and that's my thing. And actually, I did some looking into some stuff that was like related to the Giannis Antetokounmpo trade rumors and things of that nature, right? Because even though we feel like Giannis is not going to get traded this season, right? The closer Giannis becomes to free agency, the more the idea of Giannis being traded becomes real, because are you going to be, as the Milwaukee Bucks, going to let Giannis walk for nothing? Because there's a likelihood that maybe he sticks it out from Milwaukee or in Milwaukee as far as not requesting a trade. But as soon as Giannis Antetokounmpo gets the chance to leave in free agency, the likelihood is that he is going to walk, right? So the likelihood of that being so high makes it where even if Giannis is not traded this year, there is a likelihood that he will be moved. And as the Miami Heat, you want to position yourself financially to have the space in order to do so. Well, a lot of research later has shown me that in order for them to free up their books enough to not only acquire Giannis Antetokounmpo, but then have the financial flexibility to sign him long term, they would have to move off of Norman Powell and Andrew Wiggins to create the space. So this first domino is of moving off of Norman Powell, who, again, you don't want to watch have a near all-star, if not potentially full-blown all-star. He might be an all-star reserve this year. You don't want to have to be the team to pay him that money. You know what I mean? You don't want to be the team that has to be the one to pay him that money if you're the team that's in the conversation to land Giannis. See, Detroit's not in that convo.
Yeah.
Detroit's not in that conversation right now.
Yeah.
So it makes it a little bit more favorable for them if they have to pay Norman Powell 2 years, $26 million, or not $26 million, but like 2 years. Let's say it would be like 2 years, $45 million, but it'd be like $20+ million a year.
I was gonna say between like 2 years 40, 2 years 50, like in between.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But see, with Cade Cunningham already being locked down long term, you have to pay Jalen Duren this summer.
But
Do
Tobias
you want to be the
books? Tobias is coming off the books.
Tobias comes off the books. That frees up that space. You don't have to pay Asar yet. Ron Holland's still good.
Yeah.
You would have had to pay Jaden Ivey this summer. That money's being moved off.
Yeah.
In this trade. And there's nobody else of real insane value you have to worry about giving a contract. Isaiah Stewart's locked down. Like, Norman Powell would be kind of like your fine pseudo, like, free agent acquisition, so to speak, if you're, Detroit. Yeah. And then maybe you're able to get Malik Beasley on a low contract next summer if all this other, gambling stuff finally blows over.
But I don't mind it. I think that sort of trade, I think, like, again, we talked about in the past, potentially going balls to the wall, going for like a Laurie, going for a Michael Porter Jr., going for someone like a Norman Powell could be a nice, a good in between where you're still being aggressive, still getting that score, but also not giving up too much of your future. I have a feeling in this sort of trade, especially because he is a expiring contract. I mean, to be fair, you are giving away expiring contract as well in Jaden Ivey. Would probably be a 2026 or 2027 because, again, it's a late first round pick, but you don't want to, commit a future, especially 4 years down the line, first round pick for someone who will probably only be on your team for like at least like their prime years for like another 2 more. Like
yeah, I would assume that 2027 would make the most sense. I don't think you would give up your pick this year as Detroit. I think you kind of take it in stride. I mean, I'm sure you're at the top of the Eastern Conference right now. Your pick should be relatively, in the high 20s as of right now. But at the same time, 2027 might be the pick that you feel a little bit more comfortable moving off of. The reason why you even have to give up a future first round pick in a trade like this, even though you can make the argument that Norman Powell is not worth a first necessarily, is just because Jaden Ivey is coming off the books and essentially you're incentivizing the Heat to be the team that pays for him. Right? And if I'm not mistaken, I'm going to double check this as well real quick. Let me make sure. As far as Caris LeVert, I believe he comes off the books. I want to say he comes off the books as an expiring.
He is currently... I was going to say, he is right now... After next year, he comes off the books. So you have a year and a half of Caris LeVert.
Okay, yeah. So... he's essentially an expiring contract as well. So this is one of those where if you want anything to show for it as the Miami Heat, you're incentivizing them to be the team that obviously re-signs Jaden Ivey, but you're also giving them a future first-round pick to help with building. That's the main sweetener.
I don't mind it. Yeah, I think like if you're going to get like a first-round pick for Norm, you would maybe do that. Jaden Ivey is that a good enough piece because again, they're littered with guards, and if having another combo guard and Jaden Ivey just to kind of like mix in there, probably not the best idea. Like if you want to like really commit to like trading away Norman, getting like a real PG. I mean, you do have Davion, but also he's not really like the true playmaker that you want it to be. I don't think there's gonna be like a crazy trade package for Norm, so I guess I would do it if I was the Miami Heat. For the Pistons, another small guard in that backcourt, does. I think they would do it. I think both teams would do it. It's more the fact like is out of like all of these options out on the market, would you want to go for Norman Powell? I feel like he wouldn't be kind of the first option for the Detroit Pistons. Maybe number 3 or 4, especially because you might not have to give up too much for them.
I agree.
But I don't mind the fit. And coming from a Raptor fan, even though he's like a smaller 2 guard, he does play hard on the defensive end. He's of course an elite shooter as he's shown the last 2 years. He's like over 40% this year, almost 45% last year as a member of the LA Clippers, which they could use. So yeah, I actually don't mind this trade. Maybe I would say if a team is more willing not to give up that, it would probably be the Miami Heat.
I think the biggest thing, and I can openly admit this, the thing that made me a little hesitant as far as like, if I were the Heat, why would I accept this? Or more so, if I'm the Detroit Pistons, why would I do the trade? Is because if you wanted to use your first round pick cupboard, is Norman Powell the guy that you'd willing to throw that arrow out for, right? Because I totally understand. I completely agree with you as far as if we had to put Lauri Markkanen, Michael Porter Jr., and Norman Powell in a room, close the door, and you just read the stats off and what position they play to the Detroit Pistons scouting department, is Norman Powell the first guy they're going to go after? Probably not. Despite the fact that he has elite level shot creation at the guard position, I think that you can make the argument that Lauri Markkanen and Michael Porter Jr. translate better to what they need overall while also being locked down long-term contract-wise, right? So when you throw that first-round pick in, you're throwing in that first-round pick, also getting the incentive of knowing whoever we're getting, we have locked down in our program the next, I believe for both Lauri and Michael Porter Jr. would be at least the next 2, if not 3 seasons under contract.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why I got to Norman Powell as opposed to Michael Porter Jr. or Lauri strictly was based off the fact that it sounds like the asking price from Utah and Brooklyn for those two is just very, very high.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason I didn't get there was only because for those two guys, it feels like the asking price from the Brooklyn Nets and the Utah Jazz are kind of a little exuberated. And I didn't know how to come up with a fair Detroit Pistons trade that landed them without feeling like it deviates significantly away from what it sounds like Utah or Brooklyn actually want. As opposed to for the Miami Heat, they kind of have to get off of this Norman Powell contract if they want to be able to trade for Giannis at a later date. They have to get off of that money. Whether it's letting him walk this summer or moving off of his money for expiring money in some shape or form, where they don't have to be the bad guy that says, oh, I know you just had an all-star season, but we can't pay you. Like that type of thing, right? That's kind of where the Miami Heat come from in this situation.
Yeah. And what's funny, Jay, I think this kind of like translates me. I was going to let you choose between another trade, but I feel like this one kind of translates nicely to this one because I do have a Pistons trade here.
Okay, yeah, let's stay there. Let's stay there.
Let's stay there with the Pistons because I'm like you. I'm like, I don't know fully what would be like a good enough package for like, say, the Nets or the Jazz to take to, move off their star guys in order to make a deal with the Pistons. So I kind of went a little bit lower too to a guy in the similar vein as Norman Powell, but in the sense where he's like a lot younger. So I think this is where it's like, okay, this timeline kind of fits with what they have right now.
Okay.
So my trade, pretty simple. It would be Tobias Harris and a 2027 first round pick in exchange for Benedict Mathurin and Obi Toppin.
Oh. Okay. How much longer does Obi have?
If I remember correctly, I know he's injured right now as we speak.
Yeah.
But I think after this year, he has one more season, if I remember correctly. They are doing a trade in division, which I don't know like how big that is to them. He has 2 more years, so it's a bit of a long-term deal, and he's coming off a leg injury.
Toby comes off at the end of this season, though.
No, not Toby comes off of this year, and Ben Mathurin is the restricted free agent. Because remember, I think we had a discussion a few weeks ago where it's like, does the Pacers want to pay Ben Mathurin, and did they want to set the market?
But restricted free agency also puts the Pistons in a favorable situation because between restricted free agency and the overall bird rights, they would be able to give him a pretty good,
and
a pretty good number.
Match anything. Yeah, and they're allowed to match.
Right, yeah. That gives them all of the financial control. Oh, he could actually know it. Now that you say it, that actually does sound a little bit better than Norman. Just because of the financial control aspect of it more than anything, because it almost guarantees you can resign him. See, Norman,
Yeah.
as an unrestricted free agent, might just choose to go to the team that he feels like
Get the most bread from, yeah.
just get the most bread from, given the fact that it feels like he needs to capitalize off of a
Even
strong
though he's
two
definitely a
years.
more like finished product, a more consistent product than like a Ben
Yeah.
Mathurin per se. But you also get, even though you go down to Tobias, you do get Obi Toppin again coming off of injury and another 2 years left on his deal. But kind of like Buddy Hield, it's not a crazy contract. It's like 15 million next year and 16 million the year after.
Yeah.
So tradable, or you could
Hmm.
see him like, and you've seen in the NBA Finals, he could be a real contributor to a team going deep into the playoffs.
And he feels like a very good second unit kind of guy for what the Pistons are doing right now. You know
Or
what I
even
mean?
spot center, even spots set like starter minutes. If they want to like split that with him and like Isaiah Stewart and stuff like that, like I
Yeah.
think those two can like really,
Hmm.
like flip back and forth there.
Benedict Mathurin would definitely bump Ron Holland down the pecking order a bit. Which, if you're a Pistons fan, what is your take on that? That would be an interesting question for someone who watches the Pistons a little bit closely. But it's funny that you said that though, because it's like I do like the Benedict Mathurin aspect a little bit more. He's gonna be able to explore the studio space a little bit more than he was with Indiana. Which, hilariously enough, I felt like Indiana gave him a pretty good amount of rope. This
Yeah,
is just about the fact that they just need a center. They just really need center play. It's not
yeah,
really about Benedict Mathurin to be very clear.
yeah,
The Indiana Pacers not wanting to pay Ben has more to do about needing to allocate that money towards real center depth than it is
yeah,
not liking Ben. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So if you get everything Ben has been able to show off when healthy, which is an own separate question too, right?
yeah.
Obi's hurt,
And you
but
gotta remember,
Ben,
and you also got to think of like the long term look of this of there's like what this team is going to look like, especially if they get a top pick next year, potentially adding an AJ DeBonsa, potentially adding a Darren Peterson.
yeah,
That's just going to move Benedict Mathurin down the pecking order, and I think
yeah,
especially
especially
when
if
you
they
kind
get
of come,
AJ, yeah, especially if
yeah,
they get AJ,
and
yeah.
and especially if you want to go in a deep playoff run, they've shown that they have a lot more trust in an Aaron Nesmith than a Ben Mathurin as well.
I mean, yeah, even Ben Shepherd was getting minutes before Benedict Mathurin at one point during that
Yeah,
postseason run.
yeah,
Huh. I'm gonna be honest with you, and I can admit when I'm like wrong or when I like something a little bit better than my own. I actually like your Pistons trade a little bit better than mine. And
yeah.
I think number one, the upside of Ben, obviously, right? The upside of Ben is still a guy who's 17 points per game. Norman Powell's around 2023. That's cool. We can take a four. We can take a what's that? Six to. I didn't do that on purpose. Or we'll take a 7 point. We can take a 7 point difference if we also know that we're gonna get this guy for a longer stretch of time,
Yeah,
right? Also, the upside of Benedict Mathurin may be beyond even what the peak version of Norman Powell has been able to show off. Now,
definitely
granted,
not a
that's a
finished
guy who's
product
been a
yet.
fringe All
Yeah,
Star, but Benedict Mathurin has shown off fringe All Star caliber play when he's been healthy. Now, that's been more so in spurts than consistently,
yeah.
but maybe a change of pace, maybe a change in uniform can change that. Also, more so than the skill set standpoint, I think the part where I take your trade over mine really has to do with the money. Because I think you can get Ben for 16 million a year. But I think Norman needs north of 20 even if it's on a shorter term deal
Yeah.
this upcoming summer because he's going to be able to come to the table and say, "Bro, I just averaged 20 plus points per game as
Yeah.
the first or second best player on the team, whether it was the LA Clippers
Or
or
the
it was
Heat.
the Miami Heat." Like, this ain't about, oh, with LA, Kawhi was hurt, so I got to touch the ball all the
Yeah.
dang time. Like, oh, Tyler Hero was hurt, so I got to touch the ball. No, like, he's shown you regardless of the system, like, if you give him the opportunity, like, this is a guy who can give you 20 plus points per game.
Yeah.
So he can come to the table as a 20 plus point per game scorer and say, yo, Josh Giddey just got 21 M's per year. I know he's younger than me. I know that he has a little bit more upside than I do. But like I'm a bona fide guaranteed bucket confirmed.
Yeah.
I'm not Cam Thomas. I'm not Quentin Grimes. I
Yeah.
am a fully fleshed out product that
Also,
also has the
I feel like
upside
he
as a
fits the
ball mover.
culture, and he fits the
Huh?
culture there. He's a
Yes,
nice
yeah, that's a
culture
great
fit
thing
there.
too. Yeah, yeah. So I think if you got to look at it from that perspective, if you're gonna move off of someone like, if you're the Pistons, if you're gonna move off of somebody to get the upside while not having to pay that lucrative of a price tag, more years, less money per year, with the chance to maybe be a better player long term. I think I like your trade a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to discount Obi Toppin here because again he made such a big difference in last year's finals and being under
Mm.
control for a couple more years kind of replaces the Tobias Harris minutes, which is like again like you needed some more forward play, you needed someone who can like run the floor, still like keep up with the pace of this team, and I think Obi Toppin does do that. So
Yeah.
I think that piece does help as well. If you're the Pacers, you don't want to set the Ben Mathurin market. You might have some reservations about Obi Toppin post injury as well. And getting a first round pick and an expiring contract in Tobias Harris just keeps you flexible. If you want to bring back Tobias Harris, I mean, he's shown that he could be a productive member. Maybe he might not be like the third or fourth option on your team, but I think he could
Mm.
still like provide something if you want to keep him for like a couple more years, if you
Yeah.
want to bring him back. So I don't think it's a bad idea. Again, if I'm that one, I'm a bit more like okay with both teams taking the trade. I just
Mm.
don't think, especially with like this timeline wise, that's why I think like we wanted Laurie or Michael Porter Jr. because they kind of fit more of the Pistons timeline. Norman Powell, I feel like it's like a little too further down, if you know what I mean, a little bit too like far, like too far in
Yeah.
his career to do that. So yeah, I do think I like this Ben Mathurin trade for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said you had one more trade. You had like I think one or two more trades available here.
I got two more. This next one, ironically, okay, so this is one of the only trades I came up with like on my own.
Yeah,
Actually, we did this one over on the Magic Latest podcast. Shout out to Fan Arch, the company I work with and stuff like that over there. Cover the Orlando Magic 5 days a week or whatever. And somebody in my comment section was like, "Jay, is there a way that the Orlando Magic can get Russell Westbrook and Zach LaVine on this team ASAP?" Because we constantly talk about on the podcast the idea that this team desperately needs perimeter scoring really, really bad. Desmond Bane is not having the kind of three-point shooting season that they were expecting from him. He came into the year saying he wanted to have a career high in three-point attempts per game. His career high as of right now is around 8 per game. For the Orlando Magic, he's only taken about 5 per game. So he's
yeah,
nowhere near that. I read a stat the other day that said they've shot 30% or less from beyond the arc in 16 of their 45 games this year. That's almost 40% of their games that they've been essentially the worst three-point shooting team in the NBA,
yeah,
shooting less than 30% from beyond the arc. So they need a team. They need to make a trade for this team to get some real bona fide three-point shooting and somebody who also can bring some energy into the locker room for a team that seems to be a little bit too cool for school. They take on the personality of their star player in Paulo Banchero, who's not
yeah,
your big rah-rah type of guy. Neither is Franz, right? So the trade that I came up with, and of course I already kind of spoiled it, is for Russell Westbrook and Zach LaVine. That's who they mentioned would be interesting to go after. To make the money work, you'd have to give up what many Magic fans will tell you is the heart and soul of the team in Jalen Suggs. You'd have to give up Jonathan Isaac, who a lot of Magic fans are actually very split on at the moment, but the boy don't play. I'm just saying.
yeah.
And Jet Howard. To make the money work, bar for bar, it would be Jalen Suggs' $35 million, Jonathan Isaac's $15 million, and Jet Howard makes about $5 to $7 million and would actually be a restricted free agent this upcoming summer. Jalen Suggs is signed for another 3 years. Jonathan Isaac, I believe, is also signed for another 3 years, but his money within every single year of his contract moving forward has non-guarantees baked into it.
Yeah, so he's only guaranteed $8 million next season, and then zero, and then he's guaranteed like nothing in 2027 and 2028. Okay,
And that would be moved to the Kings for Russell Westbrook, who, of course, is only signed for the rest of this year. He's on a very low deal. For people who don't know, because of how Russell Westbrook was picked up, he's only owed like $2.2 million. So most of this money is coming out of the fact that Zach makes I believe he makes 48 or something like that. It's like 47, 48, something like that.
47 and
Yeah.
48 player option.
Yeah, bro. It's wicked bread, bro. Zach LaVine's contract is wild, dog.
Okay,
I'm not gonna lie to you.
I'll be for real. I say
Yeah.
the Magic say no because
Probably.
I feel like, and this is gonna be something. This is like this is gonna be a big thing, especially with this Jalen Suggs thing. Because I did mention it. Remember in my prediction episode? I think that Anthony Black, because of his emergence and the fact that Jalen Suggs cannot stay on the court, that he might get moved out because Anthony Black has been so good and they want to re-sign him. So I get that.
Yeah.
So I understand that move needs to be made. But one of the most valuable things about this Jalen Suggs contract, and I think to keep in mind, especially for like trades potentially happening in the trade deadline, or trades happening in the thing, exactly, it descends.
I know. I thought about that too. It makes it a little harder to do it because you like him. You like what he brings to the table. His contract is quote unquote team friendly.
It's team friendly, especially when you go further and further down. Like right now, yes, he's making $35 million this year, but by the end of his contract, he's making 26. He's making 26 M's, which for someone of Jalen Suggs' caliber, if he could be what he's been before this, you'll 100% take that.
Yeah.
And the reason I say no to this, as much as I think Zach LaVine would help in the immediate future, Russell Westbrook would help in the immediate future, takes away opportunities from Anthony Black, which again we want to have him see with the ball. And I think there are options, especially come this offseason, where a Jalen Suggs contract, especially with how team friendly it is, where the cap continues to go like this and his contract continues to go like this, you can nab 2 first-round picks for Jalen Suggs.
You think so?
I think so. The team-friendly aspect of it, the fact that he could be permeable with a lot of the franchises in the league because he is a defensive first point guard who has improved three-point shooting as his career has gone along. So I think with that deal in mind, nothing on the Kings will say like, okay, I want to have like this sort of piece to like move forward, even though it does help you probably in this current season, potentially next season. But Zach LaVine makes a lot of money, man. I know it's not that long. It's a lot
nasty,
of money,
bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was so funny when we were putting up trade together on the podcast because that's my thing. What I like to do, especially on that pod when we do the trades, is, and we do it a lot. We've done it so far throughout this exercise, and I think it's an important aspect of any kind of trade deadline kind of preview, right? Is make the money work. Let's not just throw names in a pot and say, okay, this seems like a great idea. Make the money work. Because at the end of the day,
make the money work first, for sure. Yeah,
because nowadays, that first apron, second apron, all of that stuff, it really will enlighten you as to how much your team can and can't do, right? For example, a team like the Orlando Magic, TV, unless Jalen Suggs is in the trade, they can't do very much outside of move on the margins that would involve either moving Tyus Jones or Jonathan Isaac. And I don't know how hot of a commodity either one of them are on the market right now, right? So to get somebody that's a quote-unquote bigger fish, or to get somebody at least that fits more with what they're trying to do, which is be a legitimate playoff team, because right now they're 8th in the Eastern Conference for a team that thought they were the 4th best team in the East coming into the year, is they would probably have to look at that Jalen Suggs contract and be like, yo, this thing, like you said, and it's funny, I haven't even discussed that very much on the pod. I'll have to kind of bank that, but Jalen Suggs' contract itself is its own interesting thing because even though his injury history isn't great, like you mentioned, the contract is so team favorable that, like, in today's climate, it makes it very attractive.
Yes.
And I think what you're saying here is, for a contract that favorable,
and for the talent he is too. I don't want to take anything away from the talent. I know the injuries are there, but like we mentioned,
and for who he is on the floor,
setter. Yeah, he's a
because
culture
this
setter.
is a guy who averages 15, 4 and 4, 37% from beyond the arc when he's on. No disrespect to that either, by the way.
Elite defense, exactly. Yeah.
You just wonder, is Zach LaVine, right? Very similar to my Norman Powell argument earlier of is Zach LaVine the guy you're gonna fire that arrow off with this kind of favorable contract in your hands, in your possession, to when you make the move off of it, you want to get the most out of it? Is Zach LaVine the guy for it? To me, I'm gonna be honest with you. When I made this trade, something that I did preference is, if you're moving off of Jalen Suggs at this trade deadline, it is an indication that the panic button upstairs has been hit by the management,
Yeah.
because the season is getting away from them. At one point, they were fourth in the Eastern Conference. They are currently eighth in the Eastern Conference and one game away from 10th in the Eastern Conference, behind
Yeah.
my Bulls, by the way. Just throwing that out
They're
there.
500.
But,
They're 500.
but they're that close to being 10th in the Eastern Conference, which is a team that would have to win 2 games to even make the playoffs if the season ended today, right? Them moving Jalen Suggs signals panic. Something needs to happen. We need to make a move, and it needs to be something significant, right? Not just something to save money. If you're moving off of Jalen Suggs at the trade deadline, that's what it signals to me. Because I'm in the same camp as you, that if you're to move Jalen Suggs, it would happen at the end of the year,
End
not
of the
right
year
now.
for sure. Yeah, no, 100%. I think, again, I think the Magic says no. This Jalen Suggs deal is more likely going to happen in the offseason. And it's going to be the same argument if you like want to hear about trade rumors surrounding like a Trey Murphy, for example. Trey Murphy, again, better injury history, definitely a better player at the moment than Jalen Suggs, but Jalen Suggs actually has had some like pretty damn good years. That's why he was able to earn that contract.
Right.
But the team friendliness to that contract is just a whole other intriguing factor in itself. And it's gonna be the same thing with like Trey Murphy. People are thinking like, why would someone give up 3 first-round picks for Trey Murphy? Bro's gonna be making $25 million over the next 4 years. That is a massive, massive deal, especially with the production you're gonna get out of him. If you're gonna be if you're a contending team trying to go after a Trey Murphy, that's gonna matter. Same thing with this Jalen Suggs team. He can be a culture setter. He could be one of the best defensive guards in the league, if not the best point of attack defender in the league when healthy. And you have a descending contract, and he's only 24 years old. Those impacting factors, those intersectional factors that it has, it's going to be massive for teams trading for them. That's what I think. If you're the Magic, as much as you hate to see it, you gotta keep spinning the tires at the moment. You kind of dug yourself this hole by giving up all of your assets for Desmond Bane, but Jalen Suggs, a better trade is gonna be probably be coming in the offseason for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you. If I had to, in a who says no, I think I agree with you. Where I would say the Magic say no simply because, is there a better trade down the line? Not that the
Yeah,
trade package is bad, but that this would signify panic, and I wonder if if making a trade out of panic is the right way to go about using a contract like Jalen Suggs, given the fact that he is an all NBA caliber defender. He is somebody that a lot of players and fans would say is the quote unquote heart and soul of the team. And his contract is one that should not be taken lightly in this new second apron era. Those
yeah,
three things combined make it where if you're gonna move off of Jalen Suggs, you better make it count. Is
yeah,
making a panicky pickup the right way to go about doing that? Maybe not. Is the talent worth it? Again, I think Russell Westbrook will be a great injection into this
yeah.
team. I think Zach LaVine will be a great injection into this team. But is it making the most out of it for what you're moving off of in Jalen Suggs? That is a huge question mark. I completely agree with you on that. Completely agree.
Yeah, 100%. Should be definitely very interesting if you're the Orlando Magic to see like what type of trades could be made here. Because again, you're eighth. This is not the season. You're talking about the Cavs being disappointing. The Magic are definitely up there in the East for like the way that they're able to the surprisingly how they are able to fall down the standings. Will there a trade be made? Because it feels like they moved a lot of their chips towards the Desmond Bain sort of contract. Who knows? But it's gonna be interesting to see where the Orlando Magic go from here. Jay, let's go to the next trade. I have about 3 left. So I have a level 1 trade, a level 4 trade, or a level 5 trade. Which one are you feeling?
You said which levels do you have left?
1, 4, and 5. Yeah.
Are we gonna be able to hit all three of your trades?
No, probably. I mean, we'll probably like. If you do you want to go like 2
Because I
of
only
my
have one more
trades?
left. I
Do you
only
want
have
to
one more.
go? Okay, so if we go, do you want to go like with your trade? Do you feel? Because you want to do like your trade after mine too?
let's do your level 4. We'll do my last one, and then let's end with your best trade. We'll tuck the
Okay.
level 1 because I mean at this point, I feel like we've talked through some pretty interesting like low level trades. So we'll
Okay.
do your level 4. We'll do my very last number. I didn't really rank them, but we'll do my last trade, and then we'll end off with your banger trade of level 5.
Okay. Let's go to this one, and I would be not be the Raptor fan if I didn't include a Raptor trade here. That would be kind of interesting here. So
Yeah.
obviously, there's a lot of different trades going around. Are the Raptors gonna buy low, or the Raptors gonna swing for the fences?
Mm-hmm.
This is my swing for the fences one because I had the level 1 trade included the Raptors too, but it's definitely a bit more on the lower side of things. This level 4 one, interesting. We have the Toronto Raptors giving up RJ Barrett, Jakob Poeltl, Ochai Agbaji, a 2026 unprotected first, and a 2030 swap. So there's a swap option here in 2030 and a 2026. For the Kings,
Oh.
Domantas Sabonis, Keon Ellis, and Devin Carter.
Wait, you guys get DeMontis and Keon?
Yes.
All right. I really like Keon Ellis for those who are not familiar with the podcast. His name comes up very frequently on this podcast and definitely has come up very frequently on the Magic Latest podcast as well as an interesting target. Read that trade out one more time for me, please.
RJ, Poeltl, Ochai, 2026 first, and a 2030 swap.
RJ, Poeltl, Oshai. Downline swap for DeMontis, Keon Ellis, Devin Carter. The Kings don't have another legit center besides Maxime Reynaud behind
Nope.
DeMontis, do they?
Nope.
So they kind of need that nasty. They kind of need that nasty Jakob Poeltl deal, don't they? Ooh,
Hey, Scott Perry, the current GM of the Kings, drafted RJ back in the day when he was on the Knicks.
Yeah.
And you got a first round pick next year and the potential to swap in 2030.
Jakob Poeltl is also a legitimate like rim protector compared to Domantas Sabonis.
Yeah.
I kind of like this one. I'm not gonna lie. But as Toronto, bro, that's gotta feel, dude. That's gotta be an insane steal, though, bro. You get Domas. Oh man, and Keon. I think a lot of people do not understand why Keon Ellis is the kind of commodity that he is, to the point that the Spurs, the Lakers, the Warriors, the Celtics are all calling about him. Like, as a guy who's knocking down 38% of his threes, he's owed only like what, $7 million. He becomes I believe he's an unrestricted free agent this summer.
Yes, he is.
But like you're gonna be able to get him on such a fair price.
Yeah.
If you re-sign him.
Yeah.
Whew. You got Domas for another
2 years.
Or is it 2?
2 years. 2 years.
2? Oh, I really like this one. I really like this one. As a Raptors fan, may I ask you the question of where do you feel like this takes you from a defensive perspective, now having Domas in the middle?
What I like about this trade, and honestly, what's gonna like at least keep the defense alive, even if Domas is on the floor, Devin Carter and Keon Ellis are like gonna be like the point of attack defenders alongside Jamal Shed, Jacoby, all those guys. You're not gonna have any breaks against this Raptors guard rotation if you both get Devin Carter and Keon Ellis mixed in with the fact with these other point guards. Sabonis, as much as people are gonna talk about the defensive liabilities, which he clearly is, I'm not gonna say anything about that. One of the best defensive rebounders in the league. He's clear at the top of the league in terms of rebounding every single year.
Yeah.
He is a good playmaker, can run a bunch of DHOs. I think he can benefit someone like Emmanuel quickly a lot, especially when it comes to those like off the screen threes. I wouldn't want to, as a Raptor fan, go for a swing because the vibes are high in Toronto right now. Everyone feels like they're playing for each other. and like the defense is like elite, like top 4 in the league. And I don't want to give up any more draft capital. I've talked about in the past. The Raptors have had some like bad experiences, like trading like 1 or 2 first round picks in trades and not getting like fair value in return.
Yeah.
But getting off the Jakob contract, which is becoming a growing concern,
Yeah.
as much as
Especially with
RJ
the
Barrett
back
has been,
issues.
yeah, RJ Barrett has been fantastic over the last 2 years. That's why I think the Kings are like, okay, you know what? Maybe he could be someone for a long term future. I don't want to be giving up too much draft capital. That's why I think a first round pick this year and a swap would probably be fair.
Mm.
But the Raptors still get to keep their defensive identity if they keep Keon Ellis. They get Devin Carter, see how he fits into the mix in the next 2 years, especially being another good point of the attack defender at the point guard position. And of course, you get the All Star in the trade. You get all the Domantas Sabonis. So if I'm the Raptors right now, and I guess like this is a conversation I was gonna have on like my own like page, my own TikTok page. I
Mm.
would rather not go for the big swing, but if I were, this is the deal I would be at least intrigued in taking. There's not
Mm.
many, but this would be something I'm like, okay, I can buy into this.
Okay. I think something that should be noted um is that you guys are bottom 10 or tied for bottom 10 in defensive rebounding this year.
Yes.
And DeMontis could automatically help with that.
Yeah.
Pretty automatically. Is number 1. So there is that. Number 2 is this. I'm going to show you how tapped in I am with the Raptors real quick. Svi Mikhailuk has been kind of a solid like dude at that center position for you guys.
You mean
As
Sandro
of-
Mamukelashvili?
Or Sandro, excuse me.
He's been
Sandro
incredible. He's been incredible this
been
year.
very solid. I believe he's averaging like 11 points per game, something like 7, 8 rebounds.
He's been averaging on this road trip. This past road trip, the Raptors just had 17 points and 8 rebounds on 40-70% from 3. Like he's been incredible.
Sandro is balling. Excuse me, Sandro.
Yeah.
Who am I thinking? Smee. I know. I'm thinking of something else. But Sandro has been balling at that center position. Makes up a lot for the fact that, quite frankly, I mean, Jakob Poeltl's barely played for you guys this year. It feels like.
Yeah.
I saw something on Raptors Sports Illustrated, I want to say it was, that said that there was this theory of like, is RJ Barrett better off the bench, given what he's been doing out over the last couple of games, since coming back from injury, playing with the second unit. That's an interesting concept.
It's mostly because Emmanuel Quickley and Jamal Shead, that backcourt has been probably one of the most like impactful like 2-man units that the Raptors have had this year. Like Emmanuel Quickley looks so much better with Jamal Shead than he does RJ Barrett, unfortunately.
If you keep Domas, if you trade for Domas, do you keep Emmanuel Quickley? Are those things mutually exclusive?
You're gonna have to keep Emmanuel Quickley. I feel like again, alongside Jakob Poeltl, it's not a favorable contract right now. It'll be a lot more tradable down the line. I don't think an Emmanuel Quickley trade is coming this year for the Toronto Raptors. If anything, that's going to be like in a year or two. But as much as RJ Barrett's been good, you're going to need to give value in order to get value. So we're going to have to give up RJ, who, again, hometown guy, has been incredible the last like 2 years. I've been singing his praises more like as one of the more underrated guys in the league that no one talks about.
Yeah.
But capitalizing on high value right now, and you're giving up again just a first round pick this year where the Raptors are playing very well, and a swap. It's not super high risk, even though again I don't want to give up a lot more first round picks, but you're gonna have to give up some value if you want to get these type of players.
I think when you put all of that together, if you're the Raptors, you gotta really like this trade. I think for the Kings, this is one of those you're banking a whole lot on RJ Barrett being like a guy that you feel like you can foundationally lean into. But I think at the same time, you cannot keep Domas on this team. The same way I think that like DeMar, Zach LaVine, Keon, like I do think that if you're gonna fire sale this team, you gotta kind of do what the Orlando Magic did when they did all of that with Evan Fournier and Aaron Gordon and Nikola Vucevic. Like if you're gonna do it, like commit to the bit. You know what I'm saying? Commit to the bit all the way. And in this case, they do get 2 of those guys off the books in Keon and DeMontis. This is more about DeMontis than Keon, obviously. I think if you're Toronto, you definitely do it. I wonder if you're the Kings. I don't think you can get better than RJ. You know what? I'm going to stop myself there. because I actually don't know if you can get better than RJ for Domas. So I think that actually might work out both ways, really, because I
Okay.
don't. Very similar to our Jonathan Kuminga conversation of earlier of like how much better can you do given all the circumstances around said player. I just wonder, especially on what would be like selling high on RJ to a lesser degree as well. Like I don't know if you can do better than RJ right now. So I actually kind of like that one. It'll be interesting to see what you guys look like um afterwards. But I think being a much more improved rebounding team, having another guy who can be a good ball mover in Domantas Sabonis, who's a high level passer,
Yeah.
um, you get other point of attack defenders like you mentioned, but besides Jamal Shed, as far as Keon and Devin Carter. A little surprised to see the Kings give up on Devin Carter that fast.
They just don't use him at all. As much as I
True.
want him to play him, they just don't use him.
True. And that's fair. That's fair for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I actually like that trade for both sides if everybody kind of like does their part as far as like playing those guys. Like again, you would want Devin Carter to play. Is he a little redundant to a certain extent? Maybe,
A
but I think his
little.
upside is there.
Yeah.
Domas, obviously his role at least offensively fits like a glove. Um and
Keon
I
would be
mean,
great. Keon
yeah, I
would
mean
be
Keon
awesome.
is ridiculous. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, Keon would be
Yeah.
awesome on this team. I say again, if this was the only really like deal I could come up with where I could feel comfortable as a Raptor fan saying we didn't give up too much, I feel like this would be like good, like enough of a trade where I'm like, okay, I would be willing to make the swing. If I'm being realistic, I would like to just keep it small and just kind of see what we have with this team more than anything.
Okay.
But if we're going for a swing, something like that is like probably the only thing I would be like more than like I would be like kind of comfortable with, and I can convince myself of going forward. Because the Raptors have made like a lot of swings in the past and has kind of like not really worked in our favor. This one I'm like, okay, at least I can like you can convince me otherwise. So should be interesting. Should be interesting.
Okay. Fair. No, I actually like that trade a lot for both teams.
All right, Jay, your final trade package. What do you got?
So my last trade package is kind of a morphed up version of what you did with the Jonathan Kuminga to the Bulls trade, but I actually take a different approach to it. It's kind of a similar concept, different player, and I think it could
Okay.
actually work out very differently than Jonathan because it's again different player. The Atlanta Hawks reflip CJ McCollum along with
Oh.
Kristaps Porzingis for Jimmy Butler.
Ah.
So again, let's use the initial framework of what you did with Kobe White and Nikola Vucevic. We get ourselves another shot creating guard and a legitimate floor spacing center who also, in this case, Kristaps Porzingis has more upside as a rim defender than Nikola Vucevic does, obviously. It's not great, but it's better, right?
But
It's better
also
than
Vucevic
Vooch.
is available though. Like Kristaps is just like in and out all the time.
The
As
thing is,
Hawks fans
TV,
are a damn frustrated too.
this is the thing though, TV.
Yeah.
Is Jimmy Butler playing for you anytime soon?
I mean, if you're not giving up first round pick capital, but I mean, is that enough for the Hawks either? I mean, like at this point, Jimmy Butler is dead money. At this
But I
point,
think that's how you have to view it though, TV. That's the thing. You have to because the entire trade is dead money, but who does who does Jimmy Butler as dead money bring more value to? The Golden State Warriors, who are firing every arrow they have left available, or the Atlanta Hawks, who for a Jimmy Butler who won't be available until probably closer to next postseason, really can't disturb the youth movement that the Atlanta Hawks are trying to go through right now. Because if you really think about it, right, he wouldn't disturb what's going on this season because he wouldn't play, right? The Atlanta Hawks have their first round pick as well as the New Orleans Pelicans first round pick, or is it the better of New Orleans and Milwaukee? I believe it's some
yeah, something like that. But it's
iteration
gonna be
of
New
that.
Orleans. No matter what, I mean, with the way New
No
Orleans is
matter
playing, New
what, it
Orleans
seems like
is.
New Orleans is the pick, though, obviously,
Yeah.
right? So they have two first round picks in this upcoming draft class. Jimmy Butler's not going to impede the development of the one or two guys that are grabbed in this upcoming draft class either, because he's going to miss most of the season. He falls off at the end of next year. So essentially, Jimmy Butler is just dead money that falls off for Atlanta, doesn't cause any real scene, can't really cause much of any problem because how do you force yourself off a team you're not even playing off of? And if he does force himself into a reflip, then you get to just reflip him with half the season as Atlanta. For Golden State, this is about getting off the Jimmy Butler money because as a team that can't afford to have wasted years, you can't afford to have that caliber of Jimmy Butler dead money just sitting on your books. You get CJ McCollum, you get Kristaps Porzingis, they both fall off at the end of the year, which opens up significant cap space for you to be able to go out and make a potential signing in free agency this upcoming summer. A lot of reports say it might be LeBron James. You're not going to hear me pushing slander, but I'm just saying his name has been brought up in the past and has been brought up a lot more as of this latest Lakers drama with Jeannie Buss and everything like that, so on and so forth. That's neither here nor there. It's about opening up the money. It's about opening up the money as Golden State to be able to do something effective next summer because as the Golden State Warriors, again, on borrowed time, you can't afford to have, what's that, 40 plus, nearly 50 million in dead money for Jimmy Butler?
They're gonna have to attach a pick to Jimmy. There's
And
just
maybe they do. And you know what? And I didn't do that because I didn't fool around with like pick logic too much in here. But if you have to attach Jimmy Butler, a pick to Jimmy Butler
I
in order to make it fair, I think as Golden State, you take that risk knowing you're on borrowed time. You cannot afford to have the rest of this year and next year, basically, because you would have all of next year, basically. Because, I mean, let's be honest, Jimmy Butler's going to be at least hurt until, if not by the trade deadline of next year, which would make it a very hard trade asset to move because we wouldn't have seen him in a year. So who's going to want to trade for a guy you don't know how healthy he is coming off of the injury? So he's basically, if you don't move him like as soon as humanly possible, you're not going to get any value off of him at all, right?
Yeah. If they do it for like a first round pick, I could see the Hawks doing it. But also, are the Hawks tanking? They don't need to.
That's a
They
good
don't have
question.
to. They
Yeah,
don't have to, especially
true,
with that Pelicans pick they have right now. And as of
true.
right now, 3-game winning streak. CJ McCollum, I know he had a rough start over there in Atlanta to start off, but he's
Mm.
finally coming around. They need the shooting, and I think he's again just a good vet there for the Hawks that they need right now. So as much as I think, maybe coming off those first two CJ games that you're like, okay, we have to get him out of here, this and that. I just don't think the Hawks are thinking like, we're not in a rush. We don't have to tank. If we can get these guys into any sort of postseason, whether it's the play-in, whether it's the playoffs, we'll get them those experiences, we'll get them those reps. And CJ is not going to hinder us long term because, again, he is coming off our books. Kristaps
Okay,
Porzingis, he is coming off our books.
I do want to correct one thing really quickly.
Yes.
This year's draft pick actually is San Antonio's from Atlanta.
Isn't it protected? Is it protected or no?
As of, well, I'm on Tankathon and I've simmed the lottery a few times, and as of right now, that's locked in at 12. So maybe if it goes higher than that, maybe there's some protection that kicks in there. But I've simmed the lottery, 6 times now, and it stayed locked at 12. So as of right now, the Atlanta Hawks in this draft class have New Orleans first round pick, and they have Cleveland's first round pick in this draft class. So they do not have their own. It goes to San Antonio from the DeJounte Murray trade as of right now. Again, if there's a
Okay.
protection that's supposed to kick in that keeps it outside of the top, outside of the top. But the 12
Okay,
is
so it's
lottery.
protected. It's top 8 protected. It's top 8
Top
protected.
8 protected.
Okay. Yeah.
So
So
they're not. So I do see what you're saying. They're not incentivized to full-fledged tank. But at the same time, TV, right now where they're positioned, they're a lottery team that would not have their pick convey if the standings were to end as they are right now.
If I'm the Warriors, in order to make this trade go through, you need to include a pick at some point, which I will say. But even with the pick and the way that the Hawks are right now, I would still say that they say no. I would say they say no. If they
Hawks
use
say
it,
no?
the Hawks say no. If anything, I think the Jimmy Butler deal can maybe help facilitate a Michael Porter Jr. sort of trade more than anything, like around
Okay.
there. But with like CJ and Porzingis, again, do the Warriors even still want to deal with Porzingis? He's like 1 week he's playing, 1 week he's not.
Mm-hmm.
I would say like the Warriors again, if they want to get off the Jimmy Butler contract like so badly because he's probably not going to play a lot of next year, fair. But in order to make this trade work, in order to have these guys on your team, especially if you want to compete this year, you need to attach a pick. Which I don't know if it's again, is this the area you want to throw? Do you want to throw it at the Atlanta Hawks? They'd probably go other places first.
Totally fair. I think the
Yeah.
Jimmy Butler injury just made things very
Yes,
complicated.
100%.
Definitely
100%.
made it a lot more complicated. I've even seen reports that say because of the Jimmy Butler injury that they might be a lot less likely to move off of Jonathan Kuminga, which
Yeah.
is probably the worst bit of news that they could have gotten from a trade deadline perspective. Because I admit, even when I saw the trade, and this was something that I saw posed on, I believe it was Atlanta Hawks fan sided. So like this was one of those that I pulled offline. Um, you have to make the logic of Jimmy Butler's dead money make sense for your team in
Yeah.
order to be willing to take it on.
Exactly.
The Atlanta Hawks, because of how they seem to be transitioning towards a bit more of a youth movement that took Trae Young out of the picture and now leans more to Jalen Johnson, makes me wonder if they're willing to do it. The flip side to it, like you said, from Golden State's perspective is, but if, yes, Jimmy Butler is damaged goods, but with this high of a contract, because what's he at, like 48 million? It's something gross, TV.
It's
It's
more.
something nasty. I mean, atrocious.
56.
Oh God,
It's a lot. It's a
that's
lot.
brutal. And that's a player option, correct?
No. So it's just a straight contract. So after that,
Ooh,
we get
that's even
restricted.
that might be worse.
No.
Oh my
no.
gosh,
Yeah.
that
So
might be worse.
I would say again, they
Yeah.
could use a Jimmy Butler contract. By all reports, they're not going to use it. They still think he can still be able to come before the end of 2026, next season, obviously, but before the end of 2026. It's hard to make yourself that as a 37-year-old Jimmy Butler, but it's gonna be tough. But if I'm the Hawks, yeah, I'm saying no. And no incentive, like you're not incentivized to tank right now,
I get that.
and it's good to stay competitive. Try to at least get some playing experience. While you know that the Pelicans you have probably a top 5 pick in the Pelicans, so you should be fine.
Yeah.
You should be fine. Jay, are you ready for the level 5?
Yeah, I need this level 5 trade. I don't know. I didn't go super duper spicy. I thought my logic behind my trades were cool, but I didn't go super duper spicy. Level 5 sounds like we got ourselves cooked up something that Fanspo wasn't ready for. I like the idea of this.
This is coming from Sam Quinn of CBS.com.
Oh my God, TV. It is not that 4-team jumbo crackhead trade that's been going viral. Oh Lord.
It's the
Talk about
3-team.
it. Let's talk
Actually,
about it.
it's
I've
a
seen this.
It's
This
a
was
3-team.
Bleacher Report dedicated an entire article reacting to this trade. This was so
we'll go
dicks.
through this quickly because let's be honest, this probably will not happen. But
This
the
is
NBA is a crazy place. We've seen crazier.
Yo.
This trade, the Knicks get Giannis Antetokounmpo
Yo, what?
and Jeremy Grant. Both of them to the New York Knicks. The Bucks get Cat, Deuce McBride, Pacome Dadier, a top 8 protected pick from the via Washington from the Knicks, a 2028 unprotected Magic pick from the Blazers, and the Bucks get their pick swaps back. Remember we talked about that in the past with the Blazers trade? They get the pick swaps back 2028, 2030, and then 2 New York Knicks swaps in 2032 and 2030 and 2030.
Oh my Lord.
So 4 pick swaps, 2 picks.
Mm-hmm.
And the Blazers get Mikal Bridges and Gershon Yabusele. I was like, damn.
Yo, what, bro?
Damn.
That is crazy work, dude.
I
think you go first. You go first. You brought the trade to the table. You
the
go
Bucks
first.
are happy. The Bucks are happy. The Bucks are happy with what they get back in return. You kidding me? You get 2 picks. You get your swaps back. Remember how we talked how important those swaps are coming back?
Yeah.
And then you're hoping that the Knicks maybe are bad in 5 to 7 years with a core of Jalen Brunson, Giannis, and all them, I think that's a pretty good bet. That's a pretty good bet that the Knicks are not going to be as good as they are right now.
Right.
And you have Cat, which could be flipped again, potentially. True. Or it can keep you competitive, however you want to do. And then you get Pacome Daudier, who is a second-year player. Deuce McBride. I honestly think that he'll probably be someone that could be, maybe, I don't know, of a long-term piece. Maybe it's someone that another contender might trade for. You can get a bunch of pick capital here. And the fact you get control back of your picks is massive for your Milwaukee. The Blazers, if you're just giving back the Buck swaps, the only reason if I'm the Blazers, I'm like, yo, those Buck swaps are going to be way more, especially if Giannis is gone, is going to be a way more valuable than you think that's going to be. Is Mikal Bridges enough, though? Is Mikal Bridges enough? He'll a more reasonable contract than Jeremy Grant, and I think fits that whole Blazers culture that they have over there. Guys flying around the court, and he's just a better three-point shooter. So I think that can help. Gershon, he'll just be there. And then the Knicks, they trade away a lot of their core. They give away some pick swaps. They're not giving away their own picks because I think they probably got rid of those already. But Giannis and Jeremy Grant, I mean, you have Giannis, and you're not like, and you're replace. I mean, it might be a drop up between Mikal and Jeremy, but at the end of the day, you got Giannis, and you don't have to give away like crazy draft capital. I guess the swaps, but yeah, Mikal Bridges and Cat though is kind of crazy.
I think the biggest question for me that's number one, is that like in this trade, the Knicks have to move off Mikal and Cat to make it all work. I think it's its own like thing to have to deal with, right? Like, because Cat ends up with
Milwaukee.
With Milwaukee, right? Mikal ends up with Portland. If I'm Portland, don't you feel a little gypped that you give back all of Milwaukee's picks basically, and all you really get is Mikal out of it? Because Gershon's not signed past this year, if I'm not mistaken.
No, he's not.
So if you're Portland, you're basically only getting Mikal Bridges for helping facilitate a Giannis trade to New York.
You're getting off the Jeremy Grant contract. But
is Portland the kind of like free agency destination where you're like, oh yeah, we just freed up 20-something million in dead cap space?
I know, but you have Mikal Bridges, who's on a cheaper contract and a better player than Jeremy Grant, which is, again, how
what's Portland's starting five with Mikal Bridges in it?
If Jrue Holiday's considered healthy, it's probably going to be him, Mikal, Denny, Tumani, Klingon. Defensively, that's insane.
That is, I'm not gonna lie, when you spelled it out, I was like, that is kind of low-key. That is low-key straps. Like, I can't lie. That is 94 feet of crap. Like,
JP Miller coming back next year. Scoot Henderson for the long term. I don't think it's horrible for the Blazers, especially you get off the Jeremy contract.
Yeah, you still got Dame. You still got Shaden Sharp after all of that.
Shaden is still here, yeah.
Yeah.
And you're not giving up, you're giving up the 2028 Magic pick. But if you have Paolo and you have Franz on your roster, it's not going to be crazy.
Yeah.
But is that enough? That's
a lot of belief in Mikal, though, man. That's just a lot of belief in Mikal Bridges.
The Knicks gave freaking 5 picks for him.
I mean, true. But are those 5 picks any better than what be straight real though. Are those 5 picks better than the 3 from Milwaukee?
Or the 2 Milwaukee swaps? Yeah, that's the thing.
2 Milwaukee swaps?
Yeah,
I don't know if any of those 5 Knicks picks are better than those Milwaukee swaps right now.
That's the thing. That's the big thing here.
It's
not as bad if you really play it out. The Bucks get their stuff back, and they still get a star player in Cat. The Knicks get their 2 guys. I mean, yes, you're giving up Mikal too, but you got Jeremy Grant who will still be on that team. Giannis, of course, is freaking Giannis, so he's a top 3 player in basketball. It's not horrible, but again, this feels ridiculous. This feels ridiculous.
It's definitely layered. I'll say that much. I think this might actually be a different trade than the one I saw going viral for Sam Quinn, because that one had like 4 teams. I think the Utah Jazz were in it or something crazy like that too. This one's still kind of nuts though, but I've seen plenty of trade packages where people have said that like the Portland Trailblazers essentially are like the key to the New York Knicks facilitating a Giannis trade.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no, it is. So
So
it's the one I searched. I mean, like this is a Sam Quinn, but yes, it's 3 teams. It's only these 3 teams.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're the Knicks, like you just feel like you ran away like a bandit, low key, a little bit in this. I mean, because Jeremy's a solid wing player, and again, he is a step down from McHale, but by how much? I think it's a question. I'm not saying like it's like, I'm not saying it's like this little, but
Yeah.
like, is there like a valley between the two of them? Like, I don't know if it's that significant. It's a drop off, but I don't know if there's like this huge mountain range difference between Jeremy Grant.
Especially if especially from what you're getting from Giannis and Cat, you know.
Yeah, especially what you're getting out of Giannis, because that role for Jeremy Grant minimizes by a significant amount as well. So, and does Giannis have to be your starting center now if you're New York?
Maybe power forward again. You might have to split minutes with him and Mitch Robb again.
Because who's their backup center if you move off of Yabusele?
Huck Porty.
Yeah, Huck Porty, who got moved down to the G League this past week. Jesus Christ!
Hey, look, we're not saying this is gonna happen. This is why this is the freaking level 5.
Yeah,
but it makes you think. It'll make you think.
If you're the Knicks, I'm gonna put it this way: if you're the Knicks, you for sure win in the East this year. If you do it, if you don't win the East, I mean, like, oh my lord! But I think, yeah. Ooh, man.
The Blazers giving back the pick swaps is interesting though, because like those Bucks picks can be juicy.
If I'm Milwaukee, I love this though. Let's go down. What does Milwaukee get again? Because I'm gonna break down why Milwaukee might actually be the most beneficial of anybody in this trade.
Cat, Deuce, Dadier, top 8 protected pick from Washington, in 2020. I think it's 2027.
That won't convey. So that we'll just kind of kick that down.
2028 unprotected Magic pick.
2028 protected?
Unprotected.
Unprotected. Oh yeah, that's fly. Yeah, that's fly. Okay.
Then you get your pick swaps back in 2028 and 2030.
I mean, Lord, that's
and
insane.
you get Knicks pick swaps in 2030 and 2032. Again, this is like 5-7 years after this trade could happen with like Giannis and stuff. Like I feel that's interesting as well.
Brunson might not even be on this team, and even if he is, like, is he still MVP caliber? Yeah. Like Giannis, like Giannis will probably be out the paint by then, or at least near it at that point.
Yeah.
Pacome Dadier, if you talk to a Knicks fan, like, people swear this dude's like finna be somebody. So that's like an upside swing. Karl Anthony Towns is a lucrative contract, but I believe he only has 1 or 2 more years left on his contract as well. So he's somebody that you kind of only have to deal with for a short period of time before he falls off the books. Miles McBride feels like a guy that's going to get like a lot of Keon Ellis level conversation once he gets a lot closer to being expiring. I don't think he's expiring this year. I believe he has at least 1 more year left on his contract, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like he's going to be in that like Keon Ellis kind of convo around the time he gets closer to being an expiring contract on the trade market. So he could be somebody that could fetch another really interesting return if you were to reflip him. I mean, there's a world where Milwaukee, when it's all said and done, comes out with like double-digit picks across everything that they get out of a trade like this. Because they get like, what, 5 picks out of this trade by itself?
Well, 2 picks and 3 swaps.
2 picks and 3 swaps, but one of them is definitely not conveying. It might turn into
4 swaps. Sorry, 4
future.
Swaps. Yeah.
Yeah, that Wizard pick is probably not conveying. It'll probably translate into like a future second or future multiple seconds, like down the line. Like there's and then again, if you can reflip Miles McBride, if you can reflip Karl Anthony Towns, like there's a world where this trade could bank down to like almost double-digit picks when it's all said and done.
Could be, yeah, for sure. It should be interesting though. It's a lot to break down here.
Yeah.
Will this trade happen? This would definitely be the equivalent of the Luka trade from last year. But I don't know. There's a lot to break down here,
That's a
but
lot.
there's a lot. There's a lot. We want to hear your thoughts though down below on all these trades. The trades that we mentioned. Again, we went a little bit. We start to build it up, but then that crazy trade at the end. We'll want to hear all your thoughts on the trades there. Are there any guys that you think are going to be traded before by the deadline that we didn't mention today? We want to hear your thoughts down below. Yeah, the trade deadline's coming around the corner, Jay. Let's see if there's going to be a lot of, like we mentioned, next week we're going to be trying to break down as many of the trades as possible. Hopefully, there's a lot of trades to break down, but we're gonna have to wait and see, man. That should be a good episode. But today's the end of today's of the trade deadline preview episode. Thank you guys for watching. What do you have to tell these beautiful people before we sign off?
Well, like TV said, by the next time that we talk to you guys, it will be the NBA trade deadline. It will be in the books, and hopefully we have a ton of moves to discuss. The biggest thing, man, I'm just really interested to see the February 5th or the trade deadline itself is a big inflection point in the NBA, right? We learn about a lot of teams' philosophy for how they want to treat the rest of the season, whether they're going to commit to a tank and lean into more of a rebuilding mentality, whether they're going for it as a buying team trying to lean into maximizing the season. This is one of those interesting years where the second apron and the overall CBA cap machinations, I feel like it's going to make a lot of headway as far as how trades are done. I would say my one bit of advice as a fan to other fans is if your team does not make a splash trade of some kind, don't blame it strictly off incompetence. This is a completely different universe of money to move around with the CBA structured the way it
Yeah,
is now.
for
Certain
sure.
teams can't aggregate contracts. Like the Cleveland Cavaliers, quite like for example, I read an article that kind of breaks down what each team can and can't do based off their financial situation. Unless you think the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to move off of Darius Garland or
Jared
or
Allen.
some kind of like Jared Allen trade, like they're probably not doing anything. You know what I mean? Like there's certain teams that just based off of the way the money is set up right now and their inability to do even certain things on the margins, unless they are doing a blockbuster level trade, they're not going to make a move. So I would say just be very open-minded as an NBA fan at the trade deadline. This might not be as loud of an NBA trade deadline as many are hoping. I mean, TV were joking about it before the podcast started that there's been a ton of pump faking, whether it's Giannis, Ja, Anthony Davis. Like it just feels like there's a lot more smoke than there is fire. And I say that, disappointingly, obviously, as a podcaster that it will love the heck out of a trade deadline that has like, you know, 20, 30 trades that actually kind of move the needle in one way, shape,
Right,
or
right.
another.
Yeah, yeah.
But at the other juncture, there is the part of me that wants to be realistic and say we might only see like 10 to 12 moves, and they may make a contender a little better, a tanking team a little worse, and a team in the middle just enough decent as far as what their books look like. I want to be I want to promote being open minded at this NBA trade deadline because I got a weird feeling that we may only get one big body trade, and we just have to be cool with that.
Yeah, definitely should be an interesting one, and we'll be able to cover all of that hopefully by next episode. Again, we're gonna be covering the trade deadline. We're gonna be basically gonna be recording like what we said we're gonna record like 20 minutes after the trade deadline is finished. So
The
we're gonna try
goal
and
is to
see.
get on top of this basically right after the trade deadline. I don't know if TV is going to be dropping this episode the same day. We'll see how that whole thing goes, but nonetheless, we plan on reacting to this as close to when everything is done as humanly possible. Just given the
And
fact that
probably
hey,
yeah, I was
you
just saying
want the
probably the next
reaction to be
morning.
fresh, but
Yeah,
you know,
like the next morning will come out. But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
we're gonna
something like
be
that.
yeah. So like we're gonna be reacting like you're gonna get our fresh reactions when we do it next week. There's gonna be a little
Yeah.
bit of a malaise here, about maybe another like just over a week before the next episode. But trust me, hopefully we're gonna have a lot of stuff to talk about on that episode, and and you're gonna be able to check that out if you check out the Hit Your Free Throws podcast. Again, check us out on all of the social medias: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. You can check us. Make sure you check out the YouTube, the podcast networks, all of that good stuff. And again, even though we're not gonna have an episode for another maybe like 9 days or so. Make sure to check out the social medias because we're gonna be reacting to a lot of these
Yeah.
trades that are happening. So be on the lookout over there. But yeah, thank you guys for all your support again. Thank you for the 100 letting us hit the 100 subscriber mark over on YouTube. We appreciate all of you guys supporting over there, especially on the shorts and just the consistent viewers coming over here on the YouTube videos. Continue to support the Hit Your Free podcast in all the way possible. Again, all those things can be found down below. And we'll be back next week to react to the NBA trade deadline. So hope you all have a fantastic day. This is TV. This is Jay. We're signing out.
Peace.